Hello, this is News Desk with me, Sweetie Abochi. Coming up in our headlines, Ghana faces another banking sector crisis. The Bank of Ghana continues to burden commercial banks with high cash reserve ratios. Energy Committee in Parliament meets power generators this morning. We've got details as well. Chief Justice launches Leading Justice Initiative. We'll be live at the event to bring you details. These plus sports news make up the bulletin. Do stay for the details. And now let's get into the details. A new study has revealed some commercial banks in Ghana could face liquidity issues with the new cash reserve requirements placed on them by the Bank of Ghana. The research comes after the central bank decided to raise the amount of cash reserve it expects from banks. According to the study, the situation could limit credit to private sector and ultimately result in the collapse, merger and acquisition of commercial banks as a measure to safeguard depositors' funds. We've been joined by the two researchers who came out with these findings. Dr. Richmond Achiahene is banking consultant and co-authored this with Joy News lead data and research analyst Isaac Kofi Ejay. Kofi, let me start with you though. What data formed the basis of this research? Hello, Kofi, if you can hear me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you. Also, 30 banks, we are looking at key data that inform this research. So we've been looking at banks. One is their non-performing loans of bank, which we've been studying the data for a while. And we've seen how it is increased from somewhere around 15% to now 24.6%. Essentially, if you have banks that non-performing loans exceed 20%, we definitely would term it as an industry that is actually in crisis. The next data that we looked at is the the DDEP that took place about less than 2 years ago, where banks sacrificed more than $50 billion of their investments, depositors' monies that they use to buy government instruments, which were restructured and sort of rendered some of the banks illiquid as a result of that activity that the Bank of Ghana carried out. Now, if you look at the debt exchange that happened, it did two things. First, it sort of rendered the banks illiquid, and two, it created a problem for the banks where they found it very, very difficult to now lend to the private sector. And we've seen the activities of the central bank in the short term.
It appears Kofi Ejay has some challenges, but let me come to Achiahene now.
Rates. So you can hear me?
Yes, I think there were some hitches in your communication, but you can conclude before I go to Achiahene.
So I was talking about the activities of the central bank in the T-bill market, where because government can no longer borrow from bonds market and can't also borrow from the international capital market, they are now looking at borrowing about more than 90% of government's, the monies they will use to finance this 2024 budget deficit. Everything is being borrowed from the T-bill market, and that is actually pricing down the private sector. And how is government doing this? Government is doing this using very lucrative and attractive coupon rates or interest rates. Previously was more than 30%. It's now that has been reduced somewhere between 24 and 27%. And so we've seen the activities of the central bank in the capital market, especially in the T-bill market. The fact that non-performing loans have risen above 24%. And then also the effects of the DDEP. That was what actually informed us or, led us to look closer to the liquidity positions of the banks. And we came out with this research findings, of which I know Dr. Achiahene will speak more about.
Right. Thank you, Isaac. Now, Dr. Etiahene, what exactly is this cash reserve ratio that commercial banks have to meet?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners. The cash ratios are just, the banks are expected to keep a certain percentage of your money with the central bank. It can either be in the form of cash, it can be form of treasury bills. So every 100 cedis you collect, before the changes, the banks were expected to keep 15% locked up. It is locked up. You don't have access to lend. And the unfortunate thing is that this money, it doesn't bear any interest for the banks. Whereas the banks have gone to borrow source money from customers where they will possibly pay in 10%. And that bit of it, the 15% of the 100 cedis will be locked without interest. But meanwhile, the bank would have to pay interest. That is, and Bank of Ghana do this to stem up inflation. It is all used in globally. You keep the reserves to monitor inflation and also look at your currency depreciation. And this is not the first time Ghana has used this policy. We've used it since 1957 and 1960s and the 1980s. But it became prevalent in 1980s when the financial sector reform was introduced, where the country was introduced to what we call indirect monetary policy, where you have the cash reserve, you have the open market operations, you have the bill discounting, and then you have what we call the repurchasing agreement, where banks can go and get finance. So it is not a new thing that we have. But what we have now, it looks a bit curious. Like Kofi said, after going through a stringent DDP, where the bank's bonds, 50 billion, 50.6 billion to be exact, has been restructured with payments, possibly final payment due somewhere in 2031. And these monies, any bank, and I want to state it here clear, the deposit which were used for the banks buying the bonds were customers' deposit. It wasn't the banks per se. No bank will have, one bank had 10 billion to buy bonds. No, it was customer deposit for which they structured in a way to buy the bonds. So when the bonds were restructured, it had a serious implication on the deposit, banks making deposit. Because if people walk in today and they want their deposit, bank would have to find money somewhere to pay the bonds that have been restructured. So all these things have had a serious implications on the economy. But looking at what has just happened, I think whether it was oversight, when they were calculating the 224 billion deposit, they didn't take in consideration the 50 billion which has already been restructured, which is a deposit. So ideally, the governor or the whoever that did it should have taken the 50 billion from the 224. Because Kofi said, we pick all these data from Bank of Ghana. Every data that we have is from Bank of Ghana. We didn't quote any data. And when we look at the Bank of Ghana policy rate, the policy issue, they said that the banks are not lending money. And they seem to be doing what we call lazy bank approach. And when we say in finance, a lazy bank approach, what it literally means that you don't want to lend money to the private sector, but you want to lend money to government because government has created an enabling environment. Like Kofi said, a lucrative business, 30%. And one time, right, it went to 33%. Now it's declining, but it's still the most attractive for the bank. So the governor said that because you are not lending, let me add this thing to you. Forgotten what has happened to the banks earlier. And again, like Kofi said, the non-performing in 2022, December, was 15%. As I speak to you, according to governor's own statement, it has hit 24.6%. And from the literature, if you read any literature, especially from Levin and Valencia, 2018, a paper done by IMF staff, any country, especially developing country, that has non-performing more than 10, 20%, your banking sector is in serious trouble. So when we hear these statements, you begin to wonder, why did we find ourselves doing this without taking into consideration the non-performing, high non-performing, and at the same time, the bonds that were restructured in addition to the higher cash reserves. So that one influenced our thinking, saying that maybe somebody we have to draw attention to the policymakers for them to realize that something has gone wrong, and maybe they will sit down and restructure it, taking into consideration of the bond that were restructured.
Right.
And to end my case, you see, the banks are not just in a charity, they are not in charitable organizations. No bank, they take deposit at cost. So if you tell me that I've taken a deposit an average of 20, 10, 15% or 10%, and I should come and keep 25% free while I pay interest, you're not being fair to the bankers. And I'm wondering why the Bankers Association or the bankers institutions in Ghana haven't spoken about this. And to end up my conversation, the non-performing, what factors has influenced Ghana performing asset to have risen from 15% to 24%? I'm going to give you a quick answer. The microeconomic environment, number one, higher inflation, the persistent depreciation of the currency, the introduction of the myriad nuisance taxes, and also the unconducive business operation for banks. And I can tell you, if we don't take care, by the time we finish this program, we wouldn't have any private sector, because I don't see any private sector taking an overdraft or a loan at 30% in this microeconomic environment, because you're already saddled with high energy costs. What have you? Depreciation, high labor cost, everything. So we must be very careful. That is why we are putting up this paper, that we must revisit it and see if there is a way we can come together. And now the solution, quick solution. You know, we're talking about the Bank of Ghana using the monetary policy to control the issues. Nobody is talking about the fiscal policies. If you read the IMF document, the budget deficit, the financing, which is about 60-something billion, they're all coming from Treasury bills. Are we not killing ourselves by making a conscious effort to reduce our expenditure? You know, in managing economy, we have the monetary policy which Bank of Ghana is doing. And then we have the fiscal policy which the finance ministry and the government should stick up to, which that place has been left unattended. And because of that, the burden is currently being shifted more to the banks, having suffered the DDEP. So that is what I'll say for the time being.
Right. Okay, Tiani, your submission has actually been very detailed, but I just wanted to shed more light on how these non-performing loans affect or impact the lending decision of banks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a very good thing, because a lot of people don't appreciate that. The more you have learned, if you have 24%, if you take 100 cedis from somebody and 25% go bad, it means you are constrained. You are constrained by that element. So you cannot lend further. And you wouldn't, any prudent banker like me, who has been a banker, a professional banker, I will not lend when my non-performing is high. I would prefer to take the softer spot by buying Treasury bill, where you don't make any provision. Don't forget, immediately you lend 100 cedis. According to Bank of Ghana, we have provision, current, OLEM, doubtful, and losses. Each of them has its specific tag. Immediately you lend money, 1% will have to go as non-performing, because the possibility that you may not get the money is high. If there's about 90 days, you move to OLEM. That is another 10%. And then we'll go up to 100%. So the banks also sit down and realize that if we are going to collect people deposit and lend, and we cannot get the money back when they come to us, why don't we take the easy spot when you have Treasury bills? That is why government has found it very easy to create enabling environment for the banks to do the lazy bank approach. So it is not the banks. Because currently, if you ask the banks how much are they going to credit, everybody is watching cautiously, because the microeconomic environment, the business environment is not conducive to lending. And because of the default they have, they cannot also recover it. Because if you go and the man tells you that, you give me money and my business cannot get the cash flows to pay you, or that you want to sell, if you sell the property or sell his business, you're not going to get anything. That is why we're going to experience this. And literature confirm what I'm saying. If you read any literature about non-performing with its correlation with the banks cutting their lending, it is clear the more you experience non-performing, the more you want to cut. The more you experience non-performing, the more you want to cut your lending to the private sector.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Tiahini, who is a banking consultant, for giving us that in-depth analysis and breakdown of what the literature means. But moving on, members of the National Association of Institutional Suppliers are this morning picketing at the Ministry of Education, demanding the over 100 million cedis owed them for supplies of school uniforms, PE kits, and school clothes for the 2021 and 2022 fiscal year, academic year. Let's get updates from Prince Kwame Kudoga, who is on the field. Prince, if you can hear me, what can you report from the grounds of the picketing?
Good afternoon to you.
So, Sweetie, they are done with a closed-door meeting with the officials of the ministry, and the leadership of the group is addressing the members. Let's take a listen to what they are saying.
We had a meeting with the authorities at the Ministry of Education just a few minutes ago, and per that, we have come to a conclusion. They have actually assured us that our concerns, they've heard it, we've submitted our petition to them, and that from today, as a matter of urgency, they are starting paying the arrears from 2021-2022 academic year. Then part of 2022-2023 academic year will be paid by Wednesday. All payments will be done by Wednesday. That is 2021-2022 academic year. Then part of 2022-2023 academic year by Wednesday they will pay. And aside that, yes, just this very Wednesday. Then aside that, we are to meet with the head of finance coming Monday to actually look at the outstanding balance or outstanding arrears that they need to pay us. And based on that, I think we can have a headway and we can make a decision. So by that, we have some other issues that we also raised. They have taken note of it, and they have they've promised that it will be taken to the appropriate quarters. They will look at it. So we believe that very soon we will hear positive news from them. But to say Monday will be here to actually know the balance that will be left and how they are going to pay us. So for today, we are saying that we are most grateful to the media and all members present, and that after Monday, when we meet them, and the decision is not so much favorable unto us, we will meet again as an association to decide what to do next. So until that, so by that, we are saying that we are most grateful, and we want.
By that, are you calling off your picketing actions?
So today we are suspending our picketing. So the word is suspending picketing for today, and Monday, after we discuss with the Director of Finance, we will go back to our members. Then we will make a decision. So whatever that will come out from our decision, we will call back to the media. And at this time, we want to take the opportunity to thank all media present. You've been very, very supportive, and without you, we wouldn't have come this far. And we want to take the opportunity to thank our members too for rallying behind us. Thank you. Mbamchonia, ye kanyina say few minutes ago, yane.
So, Sweetie, that is it. After a closed-door meeting with the leadership of the ministry, they have called off their picketing. They suspended their picketing for now, and they are waiting for actions to be taken. If promises are not fulfilled, they will call back their membership for whatever action they want to take. So that is it, Sweetie, from the Ministry of Education here. My name is Prince Kwame Kudoga.
Well, thank you so much, Prince, coming to us live from the picketing grounds. The National Institutional Suppliers are suspending their picketing after a closed-door meeting with the Ministry of Education. In other stories, the Ghana Great Company Limited is under scrutiny by Parliament's Committee on Mines and Energy. This exercise is conducted periodically to assess, review the performances and plans of sector players in the power value chain to ensure stable power supply in the country. Samuel Mbura is at this closed-door sitting and joins us with details. Imbura, we know the Mines and Energy Committee summoned all stakeholders in the power sector this weekend over the power outages. Can you shed more light on what's going on there?
It was resolved and confirmed that the challenge at hand is a generational deficit in power. So after identifying the problem, the committee directed that the Electricity Company of Ghana should, as a matter of immediacy, provide a timetable to help Ghanaians and businesses plan. So from today, we are supposed to get a timetable from the Electricity Company of Ghana informing Ghanaians about the load shedding activities. After that, the committee chaired by Samuel Atachia also made mention about the fact that because they have identified that there is a generational deficit, meaning there are some outstanding debts that have to be cleared. So they will quickly move on to speak with the independent power producers, also engage the finance ministry to clear the outstanding debt. So all what the committee sought to unravel was to find out the challenge of it, the actuality on the ground, and they have been able to establish that it is a generational problem, and ECD is supposed to provide a load shedding timetable for Ghanaians to...
Specific agenda for today's meeting. Can you clarify?
Well, so this meeting is, it's an invitation to all the sectors to appear before the committee, the generators, the distributors, and the suppliers. So over the weekend, we had the PURC, that's the Public Utility Regulations Commission, as a regulator appearing before the committee. We also have the Energy Commission also appearing before the committee. So they had to scrutinize them, review their plans, and also review their performances and everything that borders on their operation. So two of them have already appeared before the committee, and at the moment, the Gridco is currently before the committee to answer questions on their activities, because Gridco, we know, is the distributor from the generator, which is the VRA, to the ECG. So that's more or less an intermediary between the generators and then the suppliers of power. So we don't know what time Gridco will be done, but they have been here for the past over an hour answering questions, and then their work being subjected to scrutiny. So after Gridco, we are expecting that the Volta River Authority, VRA, which is a generator, will also appear before the committee to give accounts of their activities and also, share with the committee their plans. So this is actually a periodic thing that they do, and it has actually coincided with the odd situation that we have at hand, which is the power outages in the country. So Gridco is before the committee chaired by Samuel Atachia, giving accounts of their activities and sharing their plans with them.
Oh, and then hopefully VRA. Any other players there that will be meeting the committee today that we should note? Gridco is currently in the meeting. After that, VRA will also meet the committee. Any other sector players present waiting to meet the committee? I think we lost Imbura. But let's move on to other stories. Members of the... Now, Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Gertrude Tokono, is this morning sharing her vision for the judicial sector with Ghanaians as she launches the Leading Justice initiative. We'll bring you more details after the break. Welcome back, and sorry about that hiccup earlier. Now, moving on, former president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi, says balloting the 7th position for the upcoming New Patriotic Party primary in the Ejiso constituency is divine. Earlier in his campaign, the former football administrator described himself as the 7-shirted Cristiano Ronaldo, fit to replace the deceased MP, Dr. John Kuma, who he described as Lionel Messi. All 9 aspirants for the upcoming elections on Saturday were successful at the vetting. Nat'l Assoc followed the process and filed this report.
9 aspirants filed to contest the New Patriotic Party's search for a parliamentary candidate for the upcoming by-election at Ejiso. All the candidates, including the 4 females, excelled in the vetting that was supervised by party officers from the national and regional levels. During the process, some negotiations were held for some candidates to rescind decisions to contest, but little was achieved. NPP's Director of Research and Elections, Evans Numakon, explains the process has so far been democratic. Following the balloting, all 9 aspirants believe they are on course to winning the election, ascribing meanings to the positions on the ballot paper. Second Vice Chairman for the Ejiso constituency, Kwabena Boateng, will be first on the ballot paper. Dr. Evans Pia, who will show second on the paper, links this to the former MP, John Kuma, who he believes will remain the #1 option for the constituency.
And now, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, through the Graduate Student Association of Ghana, has launched the Research Support for Postgraduate Students in the university. The GHs100m Research Fund, which happens to be the first of its kind in any Ghanaian university, will provide support through research grants for graduate students embarking on research projects. The fund will aid establishment and operations of a walk-in research support hub where graduate students can find expert assistance with issues regarding their research project. Here's a report on that.
The Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is seeking to enhance applied problem-solving and interdisciplinary research for socio-economic development of Ghana and Africa. The vision from this has influenced the setup of a funding support for graduate students who undertake research activities and ventures with ease. The support intends to facilitate partnership with external stakeholders, especially industry, to help solve relevant problems in Ghana. KNUST President of GHs100m, Felix Kofi Edusei, indicated the research funds will operate under 2 pivotal initiatives, the GHs100m Support Hub and the GHs100m Research Support Grant.
Our reputation as a university thrives on our research works, and we thought it through that as executives of graduate students, we need to come up with a policy that would help and support research work at the graduate school level, supporting them with a hub and as well as financially supporting them when it comes to their work. Together we sat down with our Senate, the research committee, the research director, the Directorate of Student Affairs, the Office of Grants and Research, as well as the Office of the Vice Chancellor, and came up with this policy that would help enhance and enable our graduate students become better.
As a research-intensive institution with over 452 postgraduate programs, thousands of students are being given the opportunity to conceive and develop interdisciplinary research projects. Vice-Chancellor of KNUST, Professor Mrs. Rita Kusia-Dixon, highlighted the need for extensive funding and investment into research infrastructure.
The leading science and technology university, it is our mandate, it is our responsibility to go through research, to be able to profess solutions to the challenges that humanity has. And that is what, for us, is our mandate. And what you have seen this afternoon is a clear indication. The fact that we place so much premium on research as a research-intensive institution.
The Vice-Chancellor appealed for the commercialization of research outcomes and called on industry to adopt the prototypes and policy briefs generated from research to solve day-to-day problems.
What I would want to do at this juncture is to appeal to all institutions, corporate organizations, well-wishers, people who think that through research we are able to do a lot to solve problems, to come and support this graduate research fund. GREF.
Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Yabwa.
I must say that's a good step in the right direction. Now, in other stories, Chief Executive Officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. Adam Atiku, has disclosed that the hospital recorded an increase in maternal mortality in 2023. He says this is as a result of referrals to the hospital. He spoke at the 2023 Performance Review meeting in Tamale. Here's Martina Bugri's report.
The Performance Review is the 50th anniversary edition under the theme Changing the Narrative, Repositioning for Excellence. In a welcome address, the CEO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. Adam Atiku, said the Tamale Teaching Hospital is working with the Ghana Health Service to address the maternal mortality concerns. He also raised concerns over water and power crisis that has hit the hospital.
Similar improvements were seen in other key performance indicators, except for maternal mortality, which unfortunately recorded an increase from 719 per 100,000 live births to 1,210 per 100,000 live births. This is a major concern to us, and we have taken pragmatic steps with the Ghana Health Service to work out modalities to reduce our maternal mortality. These patients age, as we observe 50 years of health service delivery, are many and are directly downturn. Topmost on the list are the need for expansion of PTH infrastructure and equipment base, including the construction of our phase 3 pediatric complex, and the need for dedicated uninterrupted power and water supply to the hospital. I'm sure you can imagine how it is like providing clinical service without water and electricity.
The Northern Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Abdullahi Abukari, called for a strong collaboration to offer quality health care for the people.
To this time, I would like to call the leadership of the hospital for a closer collaboration. More than ever before, Ghana's people and the Ghana Health Service need to work at service fields, share old material and human resources, cover the delivery of quality health services to the good people of Ghana.
The Regional Minister, Shani Al-Hassan Shaibu, said they were working to help address the water crisis that has hit the northern region.
The acute water shortages or challenges facing the Tamale Teaching Hospital is not lost on us. We are working closely with the Ghana Water Company Limited and seeking support from various partners to improve water supply in the hospital. We understand the critical role of uninterrupted water supply in delivering quality health care, and we are dedicated to finding a permanent solution to this problem.
The Chief Director of the Ghana Health Service, Alhaji Hafiz Adam, said the Ministry of Health was aware of the challenges the hospital was facing and was working to address these challenges.
We are well aware of the internal challenges facing the healthcare facility, inadequate funding to support the expansion of the infrastructure, the equipment needed, the freeze on employment, the burden of the 10-month allowance, and the relative to pay duties. According to these challenges, as shown in the recent decision by the Ministry of Finance to pay off our standard liabilities of the health facility, the Ministry of Health is not unaware of the plight of these agencies. We are working diligently to address the most pressing of our needs within the limited resources space that we have.
Gaskia FM, the only Joy FM affiliate in the Bono East region, has for the 10th consecutive year donated items worth thousands of cedis to inmates at the Sunyani Central Prisons. The donation, which has become an annual ritual, according to the regional PRO of the prison service, DSP Dennis Piasa, would go a long way to augment the feeding of the prisoners, adding that the 1 Ghana cedi 80 pesos daily feeding per inmate is woefully inadequate. And Asabit has more.
Say a very big thank you on behalf of the regional command, on behalf of all the inmates here. I want to say a very big thank you for the support that has been given to us from Gaskia FM. This has been a yearly ritual. I think it has gone on for the past 10 years. They've been consistently coming to our aid. They've been consistently donating to inmates during this time of the season.
This is the regional PRO of the Ghana Prisons Service for the Bono region, DSP Dennis Piasa, thanking the management of Gaskia FM, an affiliate of Joy 997, for their donations to inmates at the Sunyani Central Prisons. The donations, according to DSP Dennis, will go a long way to augment the feeding of the inmates, which currently stands at 1 cedi 80 pesos for breakfast, lunch and supper per inmate.
Donations like this, as we always say, comes in very, very handy. It helps us in order to augment the feeding of the inmates, which still stands at 1 cedi 80 pesos. You feed them morning, afternoon, and then evening. So when donations come like this, it comes in very, very handy. It makes our job easier. It makes the living of the inmates also very, very easy.
This donation, which has become an annual ritual, forms part of Gaskia FM's Ramadan programs, and for the 10th consecutive year, the items go straight into helping contribute into the service's core mandate of ensuring safe custody, welfare and rehabilitation of inmates.
Our mandate is safe custody, welfare, rehabilitation and reformation of inmates. After keeping them safe, after taking care of their welfare, we also make sure that we reform them. We take them through training programs. We have lots of training programs that we take them through. And things are quite difficult now. Things are difficult all over the world. The government is doing its best. But we also call on donors, we call on philanthropists, we call on faith-based organizations to always come to our aid. So I'd like to say a big thank you to Gaskia FM for this support.
With the month of Ramadan considered as the month of blessings for Muslims across the globe, Gaskia FM, with support from its partners and listeners, contribute towards providing food and clothing to inmates here at the Sunyani Central Prisons. Mohammed Isaka, also known as Rastinka, who spoke on behalf of the manager, says the move, which has become an annual ritual, is part of the station's corporate social responsibility and will continue for years to come.
During the whole month of Ramadan, Gaskia FM always try our possible best to seek a donation from the public, our listeners, the public, for them to help us so that we can also get something for the inmates here. So we've been doing this for the past 10 years, and I think this year we came here with rice and also gari, soft drinks, clothes, and a whole lot of things.
He was quick, however, to thank the general public for their support and charged all to join hands in supporting the prison's service.
What I'll tell the others is that they should try as much as possible. Once in a while, they should try and come donate.
As the saying goes, Oliver will always ask for more. DSP Dennis Piasa made a passionate appeal to all to support the reformation and rehabilitation of the Ghana Prisons Service.
As they always say, the wise saying goes like, Oliver asks for more. Here, there's nothing like we have enough. We always ask for more. We always beg for more. So we ask those philanthropists outside, faith-based organizations, well-meaning individuals who want to come to our aid. When you come here, our doors are always wide open. You meet us, you take the donation, and it goes straight to the inmates.
Anna Sabit, Joy News, Sunyani.
Now, call it Doomsaw or Doomsaw, as the Energy Minister Matthew Opoku-Prempeh chooses to call it. There is no denying that the ongoing intermittent power supply is taking a toll on many households and businesses. In the first part of the Joy News series, Doomsaw Diaries, Kenneth Jesse explores the devastating effects Doomsaw is having on the printing industry, which has led to some workers in the sector being told to stay home. Enjoy.
This building houses a cluster of printing shops. On a regular working day, they print everything from receipts, brochures, to calendars. But these days, they print almost nothing. This shop has a minimum of 4 workers. But now, barely 2 employees show up at work. The reason? Intermittent power supply, popularly known as Doomsaw. This job requires uninterrupted electricity supply to function. But with the recent power outages, the shop has been rendered redundant.
When the people bring their jobs here like this, they want it fast. So you don't have any reason to delay them. But since Monday up till now, we don't have light here. So all the work that they brought, they have to take them back. So at the end of the day, you spend money for transport, you come and sit down here, you have to eat. You know, as for stomach, it doesn't know whether you are working or not. So you come, you eat, and you go back home. So it's not helping us at all. The business itself was down because most of the things are being printed from China now. Okay, so the small stuff that we are getting here, with this Doomsaw, everything is now zero.
For some time now, we've been having this on and off, this lights out. And moreover, the business is not booming as it used to. So the little that, we have to do, when the lights goes off, then maybe the client also feels like he needs to deliver the job the same day. So when the lights go off like this, sometimes we try to persuade them to give us, let's say, some hours, maybe a day. But most of the times, it fails us because we normally tell them they should give us a time. They will go. By the time they will come back, the lights are still not back. Then you realize that they will just come and carry the job away.
Just like most Guineans, these workers are calling for a timetable. They say a load-shedding timetable will help them plan their work schedule so they are able to meet clients' deadlines and do not lose contracts due to unexpected power outages.
So I think that should be the best way, because if I know that today, Tuesday, I won't be having light here, I won't bother myself to take car from a far place and come and sit down, just to come and sit down here. I will have prepared or organized myself better for it. If I know I will be having a work to do, maybe in the night, I will arrange myself to come and do it in the night. So by the morning, when the light is off, then I will go and rest. So the timetable is very necessary to be very helpful.
Oh, how about the timetable? You need a timetable to schedule our this thing. If there is timetable, you know that tomorrow there is no light. You can stay home and manage it. Maybe the money you use is to take car. You can manage it, and the next day, you know that the next day the light will come.
But do they have a standby generator that will at least keep their business running in the event of Doomsaw? I asked.
Yeah, actually, we're having one. Since for some time when the Doomsaw, the lights came to stability, yeah, we actually took the generator away because we don't have space here. And where the generator is, the children, most of the times, they normally play around, set fire and so on. So the other time it was about to, catch fire. So my boss took it away, thinking maybe now the lights are stable.
4 stores away is another shop that performs a similar function. Not as big as the previous one, but of equal importance. This is where they stitch the books and other printed materials before they are sent to their destinations. But the recent power outages mean they will have to sometimes stitch the books manually.
We are using this machine for the stitching. You used to stitch this book. If there is no light, you can't use it. Yesterday, they made light off around dawn 4:35 that way. Light came around 12 o'clock this afternoon. Sometimes you can't work. This one is printed. If there is no light, you can't print. After printing, they'll bring it to here. Here is the finishing side. If there is no light, there is nothing going on. So,
the last time I came here, I saw
a number of people, but today you are the only person.
And because of the light was since yesterday, this afternoon, 12 o'clock before the light came, because of that, they are not. Yes.
The impact of intermittent power outages on these businesses has been dire. Some staff have been told to stay home for the time being. The rest that show up either sleep, read a book, or engage in an activity or two to while away time. Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
Now we're taking a break for business. Stay with us.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to business. My name is Darrell Kwao. Hundreds of aggrieved customers of defunct Gold Coast Fund Management who have their investments locked up due to government's revocation of the company's license are demanding payment. They say if the government fails to refund their monies, the group will campaign against Vice President Bawumia in the upcoming elections. Here's more in this report.
Former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta supervised a banking sector cleanup from mid-2017 to January 2020 in a bid to restore confidence in the banking and specialized deposit-taking sector. The government said the action was one of the contributory factors for the country's high debt stock. The cleanup saw a reduction in the number of banks from 34 to 23, whilst 347 microfinance institutions, 15 savings and loans, and 8 finance houses had their license revoked. Gold Coast Fund Management is one of the financial companies that was affected by the exercise. This has resulted in the funds of customers being locked up for over 6 years. The affected customers are decrying that the effects of their locked up funds have left them in dire psychological and medical conditions.
Majuma mi wo mama yi medi mitifie me ya lisensia me ni yesi me go yes surgery mi ni sika me so le de medi mpo nwa ya den.
Look, you see my eye? I'm infirmity. I have glaucoma. Every month I buy drugs worth 500 Ghana cedis. And still I don't have money to do it. How do I survive? Do you want me to die? Government, do you want me to die? Wow, I have money. You mean declaring? And you're ready now, Dumwa. Anka deba to me after me. And to me, someone just can have my year. Abandon about 20 years.
Convener of aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management, Charles Nyame, says efforts to wrest the issue and get repayment for faulted customers have proven unsuccessful.
The only authorities that we are in touch with is the House of Parliament. We petitioned them. We were called. The Finance Ministry were also invited, and as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission. They have they've ended the public hearing. They are yet to come out with their report and recommendation. But apart from that, people are still dying as we wait for the report. People are still dying. People go to bed with empty stomach every day. People's educational hope is still hanging to attend universities because the very money their parents set aside for their future education is locked up for 6 years.
Leaders of the group are giving the government and financial authorities a 3-month ultimatum or face their collective vote power against the current governing New Patriotic Party.
The point we are making is we are tired. We are not going to do, I beg you, Dr. Bawumia, I beg you, Ekufuado, I beg you, Kenovo. We are not going to do that any longer. We are not begging them. We are telling them our stand, our stand. That is, if by June 30th, 2024, we do not see our payment, we are a very organized group and we are going to position ourselves as a solid political body to campaign against Dr. Bawumia and the NPP. Ashanti region alone, we have 10,000 of our members in Ashanti region.
Now, interest rates continued its downward trend for the 14th consecutive week in 2024. Nonetheless, the government failed to achieve its Treasury bills target for the second successive time. The government is reducing its appetite for borrowing on the Treasury market as a result of inflows from the World Bank and its donor partners. Yes, more.
According to the auction results by the Bank of Ghana, interest rates continue to tumble in line with the disinflation process. The Ghana Statistical Service is expected to announce inflation for March 2024. Though many analysts have predicted an increase in the rate of inflation for March, that could be reversed in April and the coming months. The 91-day bill fell by 10 basis points to 25.73%. The yield on the 182-day bill also plummeted to 28.22% from 28.24% the previous week. Similarly, the 364-day bill went down by 51 basis points to 28.33%. Meanwhile, the T-bills auction failed to meet its target by about 8.8%. The government secured 2.56 billion Ghana cedis of the total bids tendered. Chunk of the bids tendered came from the 91-day bill. About 2.02 billion Ghana cedis was offered, and the government accepted all. For the 182-day bill, 417.58 million Ghana cedis were the bids tendered. The uptake was also 417.58 million Ghana cedis.
And that's it for business news. Daryl,
Hey,
how's your
Siri.
Monday going?
So far, so good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That
It's
story
quieter
about-
because I'm seeing you this morning.
Thank you. I was just going to say, you don't want to be in the shoes of those guys with their funds locked up. And that's
Yeah, they say they're going to campaign against the vice president. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
Well, that's how we're wrapping up for Joy News Desk today. My name is Sweetie Abochi. We're back tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Okay.